Hello all, welcome you all on today's demo session on Docker on behalf of MindMajix. So let's quickly get started about today's demo session, and here we will take you through Docker, what we are going to do in Docker course, what are the course contents, how we are going to do, and what are the other benefits being there with MindMajix. To introduce myself, so I'm the trainer for Docker and here is my profile. Experience wise, I have around 20 years of experience in IT industry. From last 5 years, I'm into DevOps and cloud solutions. I work for a full-time employee for a company and I work for an MNC company where from last 5 years, I'm into DevOps architecture role and solution cloud solutioning. That's to come with an hands-on experience and core experience. Regarding training, if you look at my training experience, it's been about 3 years now. So I do a lot of trainings and a lot of freelancing. Training is basically my passion. Out of passion, I do a lot of training and it's been 3 years now. I also have various customers and we provide various customer support. So we are working with many customers on cloud solutioning and DevOps. We also provide backend support. So this is the additional thing which you are going to get from MindMajix. So MindMajix, what we do when we train people, we also provide backend support to the people when they get onto a new job, when till they get settled down with the new job, they want to understand day-to-day activities. So they need some kind of backend support. So we also provide backend support to the people who we train, and that's how we build their complete skill set so that tomorrow when they get onto the job, they should be pretty confident till they settle down with the new role, new things. So we also provide backend support. Let's spend a couple of minutes out here and I'll walk you through each and everything. Right? What are our course curriculum so that you will get a fair idea of what we are going to do in Docker and what all things we are going to do in Docker. And as I said, MindMajix, we are the professionals, so we do all that thing in a very professional way. Right, so that tomorrow when you get onto the job, you should be build and you should have a hands-on experience. So tomorrow when you get onto the job, you should be very confident and independently you should be able to manage the thing. So we start with Docker. So we are here. So Docker and Linux containers. So we start with the Docker and Linux container. So what we do here is we understand Docker as a new container platform, right? So, but what happens is Docker has embraced this and they have simplified the technology. And today we are using across the globe and everybody is trying to host their application into the container environment. So we will understand this here with some fair idea. Another thing is then we'll move ahead with continuous integration and continuous delivery. So continuous integration and continuous delivery is the core ingredient of DevOps, right? So its complete process is continuous. Continuous when I say means, for example, development. Development is an ongoing thing, right? Development is an everyday development kind of thing. So it's an everyday activity. So what we do, we have everyday development things. So do we have testing activities. So do we have other dependencies so that eventually we should be able to deliver our product faster in the market. And this is the main ingredient, continuous integration and continuous delivery. Or in short, I would say CI/CD pipeline. So basically here what we do, we integrate everything, end-to-end integration, and we have a development, we have a testing, everything is in through a backbone is an automation. So we have automated in such a way that complete workflow is tracked as a pipeline. Why we call pipeline? You know the pipeline concept, right? You put something from one end, other end you will be getting exactly the same, right? So that is how it flows and it reaches to the destination through a pipeline. So here also what we do, we have a continuous integration where we continuously integrate our development, we have our testing, and so do we should be able to deliver the product fast in the market. So we have a continuous delivery also. These are basically traditionally, if you look at it, these are the two terms, but because of DevOps and because of modern tools in place, we have integrated this thing and we can very easily, we can even do a continuous delivery also, right? We know all the agility brings a lot of things for development, agility brings a lot of things to deliver your product. So what we do, we have a sprint cycle here with basically 2 to 3 week cycle, and every 2 to 3 weeks we are going to deliver a workable software, which is basically a feature by feature delivery. So that is how we are going to see it here and what are the tools and all that supported here, complete workflow. So we before we jump onto Docker, before we jump onto container environment, we have to have our understanding. So here what we do, we will give you a complete overview, right? So we will give you complete overview and we will create the concept so that you can understand it with some examples. So that is about continuous integration and continuous delivery. Then what we do, DevOps is basically a new term, right? So why we use DevOps? So we should have some fair idea about DevOps, what DevOps is going to bring, what are the previous issues and how DevOps is going to address them, going to fix them. So we have a fair idea about DevOps. So we talk about DevOps here. Then we would also understand about DevOps lifecycle, right? Because it's an end-to-end thing, right? So we would have a complete understanding on DevOps lifecycle. When we have a DevOps lifecycle, right, we need to understand two things here. One is called as a VM and another is called containers thing, right? So containers is the new thing which is basically comes along with the container-based platform. VM, I would say it is basically used to be a past technology, right? Virtualization management nowadays it is now we call as a past technology, right? It used to be a past, though we are using it, right? We are still in transition phase, but we have a new thing which is called as a container, right? And this container brings whole lot of things, right? So we have a container based platform where we will compare and we will understand that because of this new platform called as a container and how we can build our application in a much more matured way, how we can build our application lightweight and how we can build a portable solution, right? So we'll have some understanding here and we will compare this virtualization management, right? Or I would say VMware, right? So both are synonyms to each other. Then once we understand, once we get the fair idea about containers, what we do, we talk about Docker architecture, right? So we will understand the complete architecture. So as I said, they have simplified the architecture where we create a lightweight and a portable solution, and which when I say lightweight means obviously performance would be very, very fast because it's a lightweight solution. So we understand Docker architecture here. Basically it's a client server architecture and few APIs, because in this modern world everything is controlled through APIs, so we will understand that here. Now we also see that Docker and all that tool nowadays they are already come along with the Docker registry. Docker registry is basically my Docker hub, which is a public registry, and millions of container images are already uploaded here on Docker registry. So these are already integrated with that. So when you have a CI/CD pipeline, what we do, my solution has to be pushed somewhere on a centralized thing, which is my Docker registry as a repository, which we are using Docker Hub. Why we say Docker Hub? So when anything is made available in public domain, we call that as a hub. For example, GitHub. Right? GitHub is also a public domain repository. So many people day in day out they upload their source code, their files, right? So all their presentations, all their scripts, right? So their Docker files, their Docker Compose files, YAML files, day in day out, right? Similarly, we also have a Docker Hub. Docker Hub where we upload all our container images, right? And people across the globe, they can download, they can use it. So that is also a part of our CI/CD pipeline where we build the solution and push the solution onto a Docker registry, and the people, right? When I say people means customers, they can download and they can very soon they can have the thing, right? So we can even have simplified the delivery mechanism to deliver the software or deliver the solution to the customer, right? So it's basically an automated way. So we will also understand that, and I'll walk you through that. There are millions and millions images which are already available, and day in, day out, people are contributing to that, and we will also use that, right? So basically all applications, when I say all means, you name it, they have it, right? So it's basically an Oracle application or a Microsoft-based application or any open source application or a database application, right? Right? So millions and millions of content images are there, and very soon we are going to be there and we'll see all that. Then what we do, once we have the understanding and we get a fair idea about Docker, so what we do, we start with Docker installation, right? So because it's purely a hands-on training, so we will go with a Docker installation here. When we say Docker installation, normally our preferred choice is Linux, because in a production environment, the Linux is the preferred choice. And when we say Linux, basically what we do here, we talk about CentOS or Ubuntu, right? So we use both operating systems, CentOS and Ubuntu. Normally, I prefer to install Docker on everyday session, and sometimes I install on CentOS, sometimes on Ubuntu, so that people can also learn. Now, one point which I would like to highlight here is, if you have previous experience on Linux server, which is fine, right? It is an add-on. If you don't have the experience, don't worry about it. In this course, we are going to teach you even the CentOS and Ubuntu, or fairly I would say the Linux thing, right? So Linux thing, right? So if you know, well and good. If you don't know, we will train you, right? So it is part of the course, and we will even train you on Linux also, right? So that you will be comfortable on Linux. And we will also, as I was talking about Docker registry, so we will also create your accounts on Docker Hub, so that when we use it's our day-to-day activities. When we have a hands-on experience, we will be using a lot of things from Docker Hub, right? So we'll create your accounts also, and I'll help you to do that so that everything complete environment we have before we move with the hands-on session. Now once we have the installation process, everything in place, what we do, we have Docker command, right? So Docker comes with its own command line engine. So here we will be playing with the Docker commands, and we will get familiar with the Docker commands, and it's a very, very simple thing, right? So we will have a complete understanding here. And as I said, it's completely based on hands-on session. So you would also be playing with the Docker thing eventually, right? Once you install it, right, you will understand the installation process. I will share everything, right? So installation files, installation process, and you will also install, and now you will also start with hands-on session. So here we will start with playing with the Docker, and we will also take few real-time assignments followed by some projects, right? So we'll do some real-time examples here. Normally real-time, based on our experience, we have already come up with a huge range of real-time assignments and projects for you. So we will start one by one, and here you will start get a real-time experience, right? So you will feel it here. Now once we have it, so Docker, we have few things called as a Docker layers which we need to understand before we go and explore Docker. So we need to understand this Docker layers. So Docker layers, in the background, Docker uses this technology called as Docker layer. It's basically a supported thing in Docker. And because of this Docker layer, right, we will be able to build our solution faster. We will be able to build our solution as a lightweight. We will be build our solution portable, right? So all these things will come from the Docker concept, which is called as layers, images, and containers, right? So we'll have a complete understanding here, so that tomorrow if we are going to build our container-based application, it should be lightweight, right? It should be portable, right? And it should be very, very fast, right? So all that we will understand it here, right? And that is the end goal, portable, lightweight container. So we will have the complete understanding here. This is very, very important concept, right? And we will take some time and we will understand it, right? So we will have a complete understanding. Once we have the complete understanding and we get familiar with Docker commands, right? What we do, we also go with the Docker advanced, right? So we will start eventually, right? From a basic to some understanding to advanced, right? So like that, we will also move here. In Docker advanced, what we are going to do here is we are going to do Docker commit, right? It's basically a Git commit. When you want to do something, you have configured your application, you have installed some key dependencies, post configuration, everything is done. What you do, you want to save the settings, right? You want to save your things, whatever you have done it, right? So what we do is just like a Git commit. When you do a Git commit, right? So the changes will be permanently saved with some ID called as a commit ID. Same way in Docker also. We save all our changes permanently by Docker commit, right? It's basically a Docker command only, but it has a lot of meaning to us, so we will understand that. Then we will do a complete end-to-end thing, right? So complete workflow we will do end-to-end, and here we will create the thing, we will do Docker commit, and we will push our container image to a registry server, right? So we will put registry server. Then there are two types of registry servers, which is public and private. Public, for normally we use and we want to share with open source community, and so that others can also be benefited, they can also use things, so we do that. But normally when we work for a customer, particular customer or a real-time environment for a particular employer, that time what we do, we have a dedicated environment, right? Everything cannot be exposed to public domain. So what we have a private repository. So here we will see how we can integrate and we can push our container-based images to a registry server, which is public and private. So we will have here both the ideas here, and we will push and we will understand it. Right now, once we have the fair idea about the complete life cycle, because here the previous thing, right, so we'll have a complete life cycle end to end where we will be pushing the images, we can test it, we can do that, and others can also use our thing because the solution is already built. And what we do, we automate the complete thing, right, by a Docker build. So basically Docker build is a Docker application container based environment where we will real-time application we will take and we will build our own solution, right? So here what we do, we build a real-time container-based applications, and some examples. For example, what we do, here we do a lot of things, right? So here we have multiple sessions and multiple experience, right? So you will experience all sort of applications. When I say application, people come from various backgrounds, right? So some people, they have a Java developer or a Java development background. Some people would come from a Python, which is also coming up very, very fast nowadays. So we will take few examples on Python. Java particularly, we will take Spring Boot application, right? So that is the very, very common and most recent thing which everybody wants to learn. So here you will also learn Spring Boot application on Java platform. You would also learn few Python based applications where we use Flask framework, and here we use some pre-dependencies. It's a complete enterprise-based solution which we build on Python. So here you will have experience on that, right? So .NET, right? We cannot leave .NET. Without that, the story is incomplete. So we will also have few examples from .NET also. Then we will also have few examples from Angular and Node.js, because Node.js and Angular also are everyday development thing. So we have few examples from Node.js where we will take package.json and we will build the solution directly from the package.json, and I would say npm install, it will read my package.json file and we will build our Node-based solution, right? Angular solution, right? So almost every domain, development domain, we are going to touch here, and we are going to make you aware whether it's a Java or a Python or a .NET or an Angular based, right? So all that we are going to do it here, right? It's going to be a complete thing, right? And complete automation thing, and we will build all the solutions here. Then we will have something called as a Docker volume and bind mount. Docker volume is basically a storage thing, right? Every tool comes with a storage thing. So here we will explore the storage thing. What we do, we take some production use cases here, and we will also take Jenkins example here, right? So normally on demand, Jenkins is on demand in every batch. People request, okay, why can we have a Jenkins also? So what we have done here in this course, we have included Jenkins also for you. So Jenkins, we will start with complete setup. So we will set up complete environment of Jenkins, and here we will set up complete environment of container-based environment, right? So that we will understand how we can set up the Jenkins server on a container-based environment, right? So I will set up complete environment, Jenkins environment here, and we will take few examples, right? So complete life cycle of Jenkins we will understand here. So Jenkins dashboard, and once you log in, right, and how to configure your builds, right? So when my development is done, and Jenkins being a continuous integration tool, so here we will configure the build. So we will see how we can have the build. Jenkins has a huge range of plugins, right? So what do you mean by plugins and why we need plugins? Plugins is basically what happens is every application we have various plugins, and from integration point of view, these plugins will help, right? How they help? These plugins, once you install the plugins, so plugins, what it will do? It will further increase the functionality of the application, right? It will basically extend the functionality of the application by having the plugin. Let's say I want to integrate my Docker with Jenkins, so I would install Docker plugin on top of Jenkins, right? So that I can extend the functionality of Jenkins with Docker, and I can have my configurations enabled once I have the plugin installed. So I can configure my Docker also on top of Jenkins, right? So all that we will see, and here we will configure few builds, and we will see how we can do the builds in Jenkins. Once we have our own environment, in our own environment, we will do the builds, and we will test our environment, and we will have a complete life cycle, right? User management, build management, all that thing. So various dashboard thing and various options, how to go and see the console of dashboard, and how to trigger the builds, where my logs will be there, how we archive all that thing. So here we will have complete understanding here, and this is also production use case, right? Because normally this is the practice, every company they are using it, right? So we have this experience also here in our Docker course. We'll go through with the Docker networking. Docker networking is basically a good experience here, because every application we need to create our own dedicated network where we can deploy a customer based thing onto a dedicated network. So here Docker also have a Docker networking, and when I say networking means all networking concept will come here. So IP address of my container, how my application can be created as an endpoint and people can access it, right? My subnet mask and my default gateway, all network related things, and all that network related terminologies we will explore it here. Then what we do? We deploy containers with customer projects, right? So here also we will take, assuming that we are working for some customer and we have some customer requirements, and how we can build and deploy into customer based environment, right? So Docker networking, using that we can create some dedicated network, assuming for IBM, Oracle, taking some example like that, and we will create dedicated environment for IBM, Oracle, and we will deploy specific application, right? So we will have a complete understanding here in Docker Net. So once we have Docker networking, everything in place, then we will start with the Docker Compose. So basically Docker Compose it's a tool within Docker. Docker Compose is a tool within Docker, and Docker Compose brings a lot of automation also, right? So here we will have a microservice based architecture concept, and when I say microservice based architecture concept means we will be playing with the services, right? So microservice based architecture means microservices we will be creating, right? And these services will do everything for me, right? So whatever we have learned so far, Docker command, Docker layer, right? So Docker commit, Docker push, then Docker build, Docker volume, all that Docker networking. So here in Docker Compose, it's basically an automation platform with YAML thing. So YAML nowadays, YAML is basically the building block for all the tools. So if I talk about Docker or Kubernetes or Ansible, Chef, Puppet, OpenShift, right? All these tools nowadays, they come with a universal automation building block that is called as a YAML. YAML is also pronounced as a yet another markup language. Some people, based on their comfort level, they also say yet ain't markup language, right? So it's yet another markup language which I normally say. So YAML is basically we don't do any programming. Not even a single line of coding is required here, right? So don't worry about programming. So no prerequisites or pre-requirements for this Docker course that you should know programming, right? That is not needed here. So we don't need any programming, but we do automation, right? How? We have a JSON template. Basically, these are the JSON format. When I say JSON means it's just basically a key value pair, right? So key value pair, we do automation. We don't write any coding or not even a single line of code, but because of the key value pair, right? Even Ansible, Chef, Puppet, Kubernetes, we use YAML thing only going forward. So we'll start learning YAML. So don't worry about it, right? You must be surprised that YAML we don't know and there's no talk about the YAML. YAML we will be teaching you on the fly, on the go, right? It's a part of your course. So as I said, Linux, right? So from Linux side, both CentOS, Ubuntu, Red Hat, right? So various things we will be training you on Linux side. We will be training you on YAML side as a part of this course, right? So that's the benefit. And here on the fly, on the go, we will train you so that you should be able to read the files. Not only able to read the files, but you should be able to write your own YAML files, because tomorrow you would be doing some kind of automation also, right? So we will make you comfortable, and it's basically a complete automation, right? When we talk about automation, so what we do? We deploy a microservice-based application, right? So we create our microservice-based application. We understand what is the service environment and how to create service, and it's basically fully hands-on thing, right? So you will have a complete hands-on thing. You would be understanding the concept and you would be creating your own services also. So here we take few examples here, some live example customer-based scenarios, and we have production use cases. So here we start with one service, then we create multiple services, then we create, right, other services also. And these services, what we do, we bring a multi-tier application, right? We do a multi-tier deployment here, right? When I say multi-tier means I may have service which will be talking to my front end. I may have another service which will be talking to my back end, right? I may have another service which will be talking as a middle layer, right? So all that we will have a multi-tier application experience. We take some production use cases here. We will be playing with the services, and it's a modern way of building the solutions using microservice-based architecture. So here you will be learning that thing also, right? And here it's a fully hands-on session, right? So we'll take one by one, right? Small assignments, and eventually at the end we will take complete project, right? In that project we may have front end, we may have back end, and we will see how we can build that solution and we can host that solution into container environment, and so that people can access from outside, right? So we will do all that thing, right? So here we will build a solution and we will have everything on that solution, right? So complete project we will do, right? Normally we build a WordPress website. It's an online portal which is having, you can upload videos, you can upload audios, you can upload documentation, you can have blogs, people can contribute to it. So all that we will going to create, right? And my backend would be a SQL database, right? So all that we will have a complete experience here. Now once we have experience with Docker Compose and the Docker, right? We have a clear understanding now, right? It's starting from the beginning until we come here. Then what we have a Docker Swarm. Docker Swarm is basically an inbuilt orchestration tool. So Docker also comes with an orchestration engine, right? Orchestration engine where it will do a management kind of thing, right? What happens, why we call it basically an orchestration engine, right? So we have a Docker Swarm which is an inbuilt, it's a Docker orchestration tool. It comes along with the Docker. We don't install separately. When you install Docker, this will also come along with the Docker, but the thing is, this will be not enabled automatically. This will be an inactive state, so we have to enable by activating it, right? So we'll just enable and we can start using it, right? And once we start using it, we can create a cluster, right? We can create our cluster, and this tool has a capability to manage my entire cluster, right? So something we need some tool which can manage my entire thing, right? So that management, right? Cluster management thing we call an orchestration engine, right? Orchestration engine has the capability where it is going to manage my container-based environment, right? It will take care of everything, right? So we will also create a multi-node cluster environment, right? So we will not have a single host installation, but what we do, we take few nodes and logically we group them and we create our own cluster environment. And it's going to be equivalent to production environment. So we will set up our own production-based cluster environment here by having a multi-node cluster, and we will also deploy our container-based application into this cluster, right? So we'll have a complete understanding here. So once we have, what we do, we will create and deploy a full application stack. So this is very, very important here. So we are going to, now we will build our complete application stack, right? So we'll build our complete application stack. What do you mean by application stack? So application stack means you may have one application which could be a front end. On top of that, you may have another application which could be a back end. On top of that, you may have some other application, right? So layer by layer, we can build and we can build our own application stack, right? So multi-layer application environment, which we call as a full stack, right? So I may have a back end, right? And on top of that, I may have front end. On top of that, I may have few APIs or may have some other services, right? And we have various application, multi-tier application environment, and we build our own application stack. Right. So in this, so again, this is going to be a very, very advanced experience. You will be creating your own application stack. We'll take some live examples, right? So production use cases again here, real-time examples. And in that, what we do, we see that how we can do a rolling update. What do you mean by rolling update? Rolling update is my development is an ongoing thing, right? And every day they are doing development, right? So eventually, normally they have a cycle of 3 months or 6 months, they do a product release. So once they do a product release, what we do, in my cluster environment, my applications are running, right? So which may be at a lower version, right? And now my development team has come with a product release. So they have a higher version of the application by having new features, right? They have fixed all the issues. They have enhanced few more features. They have added few more features, and this is a product release. So what we do, we take that new release and we deploy into our cluster-based environment without bringing my environment down. Absolutely with zero downtime, we can upgrade all the applications which are there in my cluster, right? So every cluster, every orchestration tool, they have a rolling update mechanism. So they have their inbuilt capabilities. So here also we will see how we can upgrade all the applications. Now once we upgrade the application, we may also feel that this new upgrade is breaking the functionality and not up to the mark, right? So it could happen, right, in production. So what we do, we create that kind of scenarios so that you can experience before you get onto the new job, right? So you should experience then and there itself. So as a part of our training, we cover that also. And what we do rollback, right? So I can go to the previous state of my application. So in environment, we have all that thing, and we can even do how we can do rollback without bringing the environment down, right? So these are automated things which we will be learning under Dockerfile cluster management. And here also, we will see multi-tier deployment, right? So it's a multi-tier deployment application, right? Microservice-based application and all that we will anyway started here, and we will again do a deployment here, and we will test the complete thing in a cluster-based environment, right? So all that we do in Docker. This is what we do, and this complete course we have crafted from a certified module, right? So officially Docker training, right? So how they have all the modules in their training program. So MindMajix also has put in their efforts to bring best of the best training contents here for you, and we are going to give you live hands-on experience so that you can learn the things, right? And completely purely hands-on based training, right? So Docker training is a hands-on thing, right? You cannot just see the slides and learn, but you have to have a hands-on experience. So that is how we are going to do. What we are going to do, I have already given you a brief overview on that. Now I hope that you have a complete understanding what we are going to do out here, right? So this is what we are going to do it here. We will do some kind of Docker installation. We will demonstrate that, right? So we will perform the Docker installation. So I put already the thing what we are going to do it here. So we are going to Docker installation. So we'll show you how to do Docker installation so that you should have some confidence and you feel good that okay, this is what we are going to do at MindMajix. So Docker installation, right? So we'll do the Docker installation, right? So I'll do in a minute for you, and I'll show you how to do Docker installation. And as I said, preferred choice is Ubuntu or Linux. So we will pick up that environment and we will do the installation. Right. Once we do the installation, right, so we'll start building our Docker container solution by having Docker image. Docker image where all my source code will be still be stored in Docker image. It's a Docker container format and all my source code would be there. So what we do is here we will bring the Docker container image onto our local machine, right? So from Docker hub, and we will bring that thing, and what we take, right, then we will create our own container, right? So I'll show you how to create the container, right? So we'll spin up the container here, right? And here, right, what we have identified, we will use Nginx web server, right? Nginx web server is very, very popular in just last few years. It is very, very popular, right? And it's an open source again, so everybody is using day in, day out, and that might be the reason because many people across the globe are using, and Nginx is the hit. It's basically an overnight hit kind of a story of Nginx. Very interesting story, right? We will talk when we explore the Nginx, right? So today we will touch upon Nginx here in our session, in our demonstration. I will go to create this container for you. Now once I have my Nginx web server, right? So this is also called as world's fastest web server, right? Nginx also called as world's fastest web server, which we are going to see in a minute. And it's a very, very simple, right? When we bring all these things into a Docker container environment, the things are very, very simple. So I'll spin up this thing and I'll show you. And once I install this thing on my machine here, you can also explore. So people across the globe, they can access it, right? So we will see how we can install into container thing, how we can host it into the container. And once this is hosted inside the container, right, outside people, they don't know, right, where this application has been installed, right? But they can still connect and they can access it, right? So we will provide the access also, and we will see how the people can also access from outside, right? So it's going to be an interesting thing. So we have picked up for you. Another thing is once we have the container application access, so we will see, so we will test this application so that you can also access from anywhere in the world, right? Because we will enable the port for all and anybody can access from any location, right? So we'll not restrict and we will enable that so that anybody can access from the thing. So we will also do a test, and that way we will see how the application once they are hosted into the container environment and how people can access from the outside, right? So we'll experience that kind of experience we are going to bring in here. You will also experience along with us so that you will feel that how we can bring the application into container environment, and once the application is hosted, how we can access it from outside, right? And we will also see container life cycle here, right? So we will do that, right? So let me quickly start with that. So this is the agenda which we are bringing it for you. Then we will move forward. So let me quickly go through and we will install this thing. So normally what we do installation on AWS cloud, right? So cloud thing, right? If you know the thing, well and good. If you don't know the thing, don't worry about it, right? Cloud thing also we are going to teach you as a part of the course. Right, so many complementary things will be there. So one thing is Linux thing, right? If you know, well and good, Linux and Ubuntu, we are going to train you on that. Another is YAML thing, which is an automation platform, right? Every tool nowadays it is come along with the tool, right? Whether it's a Docker, Docker Swarm, Kubernetes, Ansible, Chef, Puppet, right? OpenShift, right? Everywhere we use it. And another thing is cloud thing, right? So all that thing is the part of the thing, right? So many things we are going to learn it here. So let me quickly go and see. Let me log into my AWS account, right? I'll also help you, right? So don't worry about it. We will help you to create an account. So this is my thing, and I already created one thing, right? So let me launch one instance from AWS cloud, Entrust machine. And here what we do, we take free tier, right? We have free tier with 1 CPU and 1 GB of RAM, which is the thing which we need. So let me do that. Right, how many instances? One machine is enough for us. We are not going to create cluster. If it had been a cluster, then we need multiple instances, but that we are not going to do today. Any storage, we are good with the default thing, right? So we don't want to do that. So click on next. So security group. So let me add the port number because I would be installing Nginx and I would run on port number 80, and I will enable for all, right? So people across the globe, they can access. So 0.0 means it will be for any, or in other words, I would say all, right? Anybody or all, everybody can access this. So I would say launch. Once we launch here, we don't use credentials, right? We don't use passwords. Passwords are very simple thing, right? At the max, I can have password of 10 characters or 20 characters, but beyond that, and password we normally put on flat files, and flat files are prone to be attacked, right? So what we do, we use an encrypted key, SSH key. So let me log in. So it is getting initialized. have your machine ready. So let me give this thing as my Docker demo machine. Right, I'll give this as a Docker demo machine here. Right, so this machine will come, and what we do, we will connect to this machine. So it is still in initialization, right? So it's in pending, right? So once it will be ready, the indicator will turn into green. Once the indicator will turn into green, it will be, this connect button will be enabled, and through this connect button we can connect to this machine, right? So I can take the control of this machine and I can install my Docker on that thing, and then probably I will spin up that Nginx, right? So can you see it here? It is already ready, right? So green, once it will be green, right, it will change the color from yellow to green. So that indicates that my machine is ready and I can connect to it. So let me go and connect to it, right? So here are the steps which we need to connect to this machine. We need to create through SSH client, right? Or you can use PuTTY. Normally for Linux and Ubuntu, right? Linux side people use PuTTY to take the control of the machine, right? So we will use SSH client. I don't use PuTTY. I use a little more advanced tool called as MindMajix Docker, which is where I can create multiple sessions and we can demonstrate. So we use open MindMajix Docker. I'll tell you, right? You can also install that and you can also get that, right? And what we do, we need to give permission to my SSH file, right? So we want to give permission to that thing, and here we give read permission, right? So we can read, this is my SSH key file, and then we can connect it, right? So let me quickly go and copy this token and connect. Let me copy. What I will do, I will launch my mobile system here. I've already given permission here. So let me. So we want to do installation. So normal user we cannot use. So we have to log in with the root user. So sudo sd and we have logged in with root user. Right. Let me clear the screen so that we'll get more space. Now let me quickly go and install things. So this my Red Hat or my CentOS machine. So I use yum. Alright. So we can use yum. And I'm already logging with the root user. Right. So we are already with the root user yum. Right. It's just yum install what I want. I want to install it. What I want to install, I want to install Docker. So Docker and -y, so that will take yes and silently it will install. It will not ask me any question. By default it will take yes. So I'm passing an argument as -v, -yes, -y. It will not take much time, right? So it will take few seconds, less than a minute, and my Docker will be installed. So once my Docker is installed, you see that Docker is complete. So my installation is done, right? So Docker installation is done and it says that it is installed, right? So once my installation is done, right? So what we do, we verify, right? So we verify by Docker -version, right? So that means my Docker installation is done. So this is the version which we are going to use, and this is my build number. Right now, every tool which comes with the build number. So my Docker installation is done. Right. Let me clear the thing. And what we want to also start our Docker daemon, which is my Docker processor. So let me start the Docker service. So what is the command? Service command we have to do. Right. Service. What is the name of service? The Docker is the name of the service. What I want to start. So say Docker service Docker and start. So I started my service. So my thing, let me fire some command. So Docker info to see the configurations of my Docker. So I see that, yes. So my Docker has been installed, right? So right now it is showing me, right? So 0 container, 0 is running, 0 pause, 0 stop, no image, right? So all that is fine. So this is the command which I just fired. So my Docker is in place. So what I do? So as we have discussed, so I will go and I will install this Nginx web server, world's fastest web server. So I'll just go and quickly spin up here, right? So what we do, we have a Docker command. Docker is basically comes with its own CLI, Docker command line interface. So Docker, and what I want to do here is Docker. I want to create container, right? So Docker run. I send this an argument. We will talk about this argument about this. So I'm running in detach in that integrated and terminal. So all these arguments, and I want to give some name also. Let's say I would give web app, or I would say, yeah, web app, right? And what I want to do on particular port number. So I will say -p for port number, and I want to run on port number 8080, right? And Nginx, right? So I will use Nginx, and I will use the latest of the Nginx, latest image of the Nginx. I would say latest right? So this what it will do, it will go to Docker Hub, look for this image and bring it to my local machine, right? So it is bringing it locally, right? That is what it is doing it here, right? So it has pulled that image, right? So it has downloaded that image here and it is giving me the message here that it is a status that downloaded newer image of Nginx latest, which that is what which I wanted to have it. So it has already pulled it, right? It also started my container because I say Docker run, right? So I also want to pull and I also want to run this thing, right? So it has already created and this is the ID which it has created, right? So when it creates, so we always look at the beginning 12-digit number, right? So how to see, right? So we have a command docker ps means print the status of running container, right? I see that yes, this is the ID. So if you look at it, so the first 12 digit is my thing, right? So first 12 digit is my ID. So this and this ID is same, right? What is the name we gave, right? This is the name we gave, my weather. So my weather, so the created thing, right? So it has created, it has taken the image Nginx and this is, I gave the port number also. So it is open for all, port number 80, right? And it is up, right? It is up and running, right? So docker ps is the command to check my container is running or not. Print status of running container, so docker ps and it is running, right? So it is running fine. And if I say docker images, I see that this is the image which I wanted to download, which has been downloaded from my Docker Hub. And this is the size of the image and this is 4 days old. Somebody uploaded on Docker Hub 4 days old, right? So this is the image and right. So we have this image and from where I got this image we got it from Docker Hub, right? So it is Docker Hub or you can say hub.docker.com. We will talk about all that thing in detail, right? Once we start the course. Right, this is just to give you an experience, right? So this is my hub. I have already just taken my credentials from the cache, right? And this is my account. And here we have created these images, right? So normally we do all that thing for training people, and here from here it has taken this thing Nginx, right? So millions and millions images are there, certified images are there, and this is the official image which has just taken this image, right? So this image Nginx. If you want few more details, go and click here. It will take you to the Nginx web page, right? Nginx thing, right? So this is now come with a container Linux, all that supported version, right? All that we will see, right? Some description here, Nginx, pronounce that Nginx, right? So basically they have dropped the letter E and they start with, instead of E, they is starting as N, right? So the Nginx nowadays is coming and it's just very, very famous, right? So why? Because of its low memory utilization, right? So what is the crux? Why this engine is so popular? It uses low memory and it gives a high performance, right? High performance along with the high concurrency, right? That is the reason it is overnight hit, right? So many people are using, and license wise also it is BSD, no issues. And nowadays it is coming with all operating system, right? If you see Mac operating system, we have a Solaris, we have AIX, HPUX, right? And whatnot, right? All Linux flavor, right? All Linux flavor, right? So all Linux flavors, and we also have Microsoft Windows, right? So almost it is supporting almost all the platforms, right? So we also have this thing. So I've already started here, right? So I already started. Let me go and let me go. This port number I have already enabled, port number 80. So let me go and access from outside, right? So let me go and access from outside. So let me go here. Now what I want here, so let me go and take the IP address of this machine. So if you see here, this is my public IP address. Let me copy this thing because this is running here, and let me go to the browser. Let me open another window. Put this IP address along with the port number, which is port number 80. So this is running. So my Nginx is running here, right? If I hosted my website, right, by default it should have given me my home page of my website, right? So if you have not hosted, just a web server only. No website has been hosted on this web server. It's a plain web server, right? So this is the default home page of my Nginx, right? And we can access, right? If you want to try, you can also give this IP address and you can also try, right? You can click here if you want to go inside the Nginx, right? So this is my Nginx, so that is how, right? So we can host this application into container, right? So my container is running and this Nginx is running, right? So this container is running from last about a minute ago, right? And we have this application hosted into the container, right? Let me clear this screen. and let me say Docker PS. So my container is up and running from last 5 minutes, and that is how we are accessing from outside, right? So we can host application into the container and people can access from outside, right? So this is the way people can also access. Now you can go to anywhere, right? Wherever you want to go. It's basically equivalent to a complete website, Nginx website. If I have my own portal or customer portal, you would see customer website here, right? So that is how we access over the IP address on which I have done the thing, right? So that is how we have Nginx thing, right? So that is what something we wanted to give you live. So we want to give you some live feel of it, right? So which we call as a fun ride. So this is the fun ride which we just saw. So we had a fun ride with Nginx, right? So this is what we plan for today's demo, so that we will give you some. You can also feel how we are going to set up the container, how we can install it, right? So let's move forward. The overall introduction of course, right? So basically what we have done, we have crafted the entire course by picking up the certified modules. So in the same track, right? When you go through the course, right, on the same track, we are building you to prepare you for the certification, right? So on the same track, we are preparing you for the certification in Docker. This certificate is very, very powerful, right, and very, very popular nowadays, called as Docker Certified Associate, right? So Docker Certified Associate, right? So in short, I would say DCA, right? So we are preparing, right, for you on certificate, and all the modules which we are going to cover under this course are from certified thing, right? So all certified modules, and we are going to cover all that. So on the similar track, we are preparing you for certification also, right? You will learn that many things under Docker technology, for example, Docker. So Docker security, right? So nowadays every tool comes with security, and here we are going to cluster things. So we will see the inbuilt security, right? All TLS, SSL certificate, right? So all that token, all that we are going to see it here. We will explore it. Docker policies, right? So there are some policies when we restart the container, right? Restart always, right? Restart on failure. All that policies we will see. Docker Hub, as I already told you, Docker Registry Server, right? Docker Compose, I told you about it. It's a tool within Docker where we will be learning with services. So we'll expose the services. Docker Swarm, it's again orchestration engine, right? So we'll create cluster. Dockerfile, it's an automated where we build. So today I will demonstrate that. Docker Container, Docker Engine, Docker Images, Docker Network, Docker Daemon, Docker Storage, Docker Layer, Docker Persistent Volume for storing persistent data, and many more in Docker Advanced, right? So with a lot of hands-on real-time application examples, right? Production use cases, all that we are going to learn it here. So this will give you an edge. Focus on the value of Docker, right? So why this Docker is making a huge buzz in the market, right? So let's understand that. So a lot of scope in this technology. So what is that? So here you will be learning new and modern tools to containerize your legacy application into container, right? So you will migrate, right? So you can migrate your legacy application into a container environment, right? So you can do that. So that you are going to learn it here, right? You will learn and build portable and lightweight solution, right? So this is the crux here, right? So that is the reason whole world is moving towards container thing, right? So here we will see how we can build portable and lightweight solution, and we can port it onto any registry, and people can just download and they can spin up the container, right? Because of the portability, right? We will see that hands-on experience. As I said, this complete training program is based on hands-on thing. You will build your own container where, right? So you will be building your own container, Java based, right? .NET based, Python, right? Angular, all that thing. Creating your own microservice architecture application by creating your own services. So here we will be playing with the services, right? So all that we are going to do, right? So all these are our crux, right? So here we will be doing all that thing, right? We have already seen that, and MindMajix we do, right? We take a lot of things and we train people covering each and all that modern way of building the solution, right? So here we will be giving you that kind of experience purely based on hands-on things, right? Let's look at some market insights also, right? We are talking about marketing, so let's do some study on market. So for you, we have bring some information here, right? So what is that? The global Docker market size, right? So which was expected to grow from USD to 170 million, right? So $170 million market was expected in 2017, right? Sorry, 2019, which is the current fiscal year, right? So in this current year, and what is the thing? It is further expected to grow from USD 2017 to 993, right? So we are further actually almost threefold, right? Or not only three, fourfold, right? So we are going to, or almost approximately fivefold, we are going to increase that. So there is a continuous improvement, right? And we are going to increase the market value from USD 217 to USD 993, right? So it's a Julian thing by couple of rights so down the line, because this technology is going to stay for a longer period of time. That is the expected, and market study also says, right? So by 2024 we will be covering the market of USD $993 million market, right, at a compound annual growth rate of 35.6, right? So this is the forecast, right? So this is a very good forecast, right? So year on year 35.6% of growth we will be having, right? So it's a very high compound growth, and that is the reason this Docker container platform is bringing a lot of value in the market. There is a huge buzz in the market. Everybody is talking about it, and that is the thing. We also wanted to give you some insights, market insight. What is the market trend? Market trend is very high demand in the market. So it's a very, very high demand in the market. That is the reason everybody is doing it. And at MindMajix, we professionally train people, right? We professionally train people so that they can be comfortably, they can get onto the job, they can learn this technology at MindMajix, and once they get onto the job and they have already have the hands-on experience, so we build you a new skill set, we build you a complete new profile which will give you a value add into your upcoming new profile, new role, right? So all that we do it here. There are certifications, right? So which I've already mentioned. So for you can also go through here. So this is the link I have already given. So you can go through this link if you, right? So if you want to go, you can go through here, or if you click it here, it will open you that link, right? So it's the link basically, it will open. So you can collect all kind of details here from the certificate, right? So it's a certificate thing, Docker certificate associate, right? And you will get to know all that things. So you can come here and get all the details, right? Study guide and all that thing, right? So you can come here and see that, right? So it's a new, right? So a lot of job market, people are getting shortlisted based on the certification, and this skill is on high demand, right? So what you get, right? So when professionals, when they are certified, so they will set themselves apart from the crowd, right? So you will be shortlisted based on the certificate. That is how all big players, they do like that, right? So you can display the certificate on your resume as a logo, and in social media also, your profile, you can display this thing, and that is how nowadays people are picking up the CVs, right? People are hiring teams. What they do, recruitment team, they will go to the social media or the job portals, and they will select the certified people, right? So you will also have your logo, and you can create your social media profile, right? Be the first BCA designated and gain recognition, right? So for your enterprise container based skill set, right? So you can, right, enroll with MindMajix, and we will train you for that. And as I said, it's the same track. We will prepare you for certification also. Container based application, right? So we demonstrate few examples here, right? So normally we do some projects here, right? So we do complete projects, right? So we do small assignments, that's fine, but we do a complete project. To give you some examples, right? So we do examples. Spring Boot is very, very popular, which is Java based thing. What it requires? Nothing, just a Docker environment. And Docker environment, as I said, it's a lightweight and portable, 1 CPU, 1 GB of RAM, right? So let me show you this live demonstration. If time permits, I think we can quickly see that, right? And then we have a Python based application, right? So where we build a Python based huge application, right? So which may have some dependencies also. So having pre-dependency or pre-environment we can create, and then we can have Python environment. We can use some framework also based on Flask, right? Which is very popular. Here also we create a Docker environment with 1 CPU, 1 GB, right? It's a lightweight, right? So no other software will run, but we will run complete thing. I will test you. I will run with 1 CPU, 1 GB with Spring Boot, and I'll do that, right? So let me go and do that. So we already have our machine, so let me go and we can do that. We will build this solution for you. So let me go and we can do that. So let me give you some examples here, so we can see here. If you don't do for anything, so by default it will log you off, so that's fine, right? So I have logged in back, right? Let me clear the screen. So what we do, so let me take an example here. I have 6 repositories. So let me clone this repository for you, and then we will experience the thing. So we have, right? So what we do, we will clone this thing repository so that in this machine, right? So Git is not installed here. So this is my thing. What we can do, we can connect here with another thing where we have Git installed. So yes, mode 400, and this is my SSH. Let me quickly go to my EC2 instances, and we may have one machine which is already have the thing. Let me take this machine, connect to this machine. Right, so it's going to be very, very interesting. Let me log in with my sudo. And for your information, this machine is my Ubuntu, right? So we have installed Ubuntu here. So this is my Ubuntu machine. I have logged in with the root user. Let me clear the screen so that we can get more space. And I think my Docker is already installed here. So before this session, I installed Docker. So Docker is already installed here, right? So Docker 19. Most recent version 19.03.6 version. This is the build number. So my Docker is already installed here. So let me do git clone here. Let me clear the screen. Very quickly we will demonstrate that. So what I am doing, I am cloning this repository on my local machine. So it will clone. So this repository has been cloned. You see 100% it has copied. So it has been done. Right. So it is giving me message also it is done. Right. So can I see that? So when you say ls, yes. So this is the repository. Can you see this path? It's Spring Boot. That is Spring Boot which has already locally copied. So I have cloned this repository here. Right. So let me go inside this by cd and I will go inside this repository. And if I see here, so we are going to use the Dockerfile here. We have complete thing. We use form-based. It's a Java application. So form-based file. We have some Maven framework also to set up the environment. And here we will build our target, right? So we will have our own jar files here. So I'm going to use this my Docker file, right? I'm going to use my Docker file. So I'm going to use OpenJDK, right? So I'll install Java. So we need for Java-based application, we need Java. So I'm going to install JDK. Maintainer, we have put our name, DevOps team. Right, so volume, I'm also going to create a volume for persistent data. I'm going to start this Java application on particular port number, which is 8080, right? I'm going to create some target, which I'm going to generate jar file here, right? So I will go and do that, right? Then I will add this jar file, right? So this is my demo jar, which I will do, and I will run this jar file here. Can you see it? So I'm using Docker command, entry point command, and I will run this thing by passing an argument Java, right? So this is the argument I will pass, and I will say jar, and from jar, right, argument, and this is the jar file, right, the path of the file, and we will run this thing, right? So let me quickly go in and run this for you, and we will set up the environment for you, right? So what we do, we are going to use this Docker file, right, which I just showed you, this Docker file, which we are going to use, and the form file, which we already have it here. So what we do, so what I am going to do it here. So let me first say Maven environment we needed. So let me do Maven clean package that will install all Maven based dependencies. Right. So Maven is not installed here. So it says that if it is not installed, we need to install Maven here. Right. So let me go and install this Maven here. Right. So I've copied here Maven. This command is copied here. Right. Now press enter. It will install Maven. So it will take a while and it will create an environment for my Java application. Right. So this is done. So my environment is done. So I have done the thing. Right. So now what I can do, now let me go and build my application or so if we get Maven which we already did. Now what we have Dockerfile. So let me go and build my image through the Dockerfile. We already have this Dockerfile, or let me clear the screen so that we can see it clearly. So this is the Dockerfile which I'm going to build. So what I will do, I will say Docker build, right? So because my Docker is here and Docker is going to build this application from Dockerfile, Docker build. What I want to give name, so hyphen T is the tag. I want to give some name, so I will say Spring Boot, right? Chat application, chat app, right? So this is my chat application which we are going to build, and I will take it from my Docker file. So I'll put a dot, so it will automatically go and look for Docker file and it will start building it. Right, so it is downloading my JDK, right, and this is doing it. So what happens? Okay, so this is looking for this thing. So let me go and have that. We have clean packages. So we are building our environment, right? So here we create our jar file. It will generate and it will create my Spring Boot jar, right? So it has created my jar. Spring Boot jar has been created, right? So my build is success, right? So we build it, so we build this jar. Now if I look at this jar, you can see the target folder has come. Previously it was not there, so my target folder jar file, so we have built it, right? So my build is successful, right? Now what I can do, let me rerun my Dockerfile again, and we will pick up the jar file this time. So I will run this my Dockerfile. So my Dockerfile, so all the steps previously done, right? So my jar file is now created and my image has been built. This is my image ID which I just built, and this is the name of my image, right? So let me quickly go and verify. So how to do? By Docker command, Docker images. So I see that I built this thing. This is the application which I built, right? Can you see this, and this name is same? Yes. What is the version? Version is latest. Yes, it is latest. What is the image ID? This is the ID 783. So this is the ID. Normally I read 3 letters of first and the last 3 letters. So 230. So this is it. And how much? Just 18 seconds ago I built this thing, and it is 131 MB. Right? It's a huge MB. So I built my Spring Boot application here. Right? So I built my Spring Boot application, but is it running? So Docker PS. So it is not running, right? It is not running, right? So let me go and run this thing, right? So what I will do, I will say Docker run, right? Docker run -dit, right? Docker run -dit, and I want to run on port number -p 8080. Do I want to give name, right? So let me give name of this application, Spring, right? I will say Spring, right? I'll just give a short name as a Spring. And what is the image? I'm going to use the same image which I just created. This is the image I created, right? Let me build this thing. So it is starting my container has been started. So now if I say Docker PS, so my Spring Boot application, what is the name I gave? I gave name as a Spring, and my container is started, right? So container started just 9 seconds ago, port number 8080. So this container is up and running, right? So let me add this port number into my security group and let me access from outside, right? So we have created a Spring Boot application. So let me go here on this machine, right? Let me take this IP address. So this is the IP address, and let me check security group whether port number 8080 is enabled or not. Go to security group, inbound, port number 8080 is already enabled, BC 8080 enabled, right? So for all 8080. So let me go to the browser, copy this IP address. Port number is 8080, port number 8080, and we will launch this application here, right? So my Java Spring Boot application is here. Let me enter your name. So let me enter my name, right? I will enter my name and start setting, right? It is connecting, right? So it is connected to my Spring Boot chat, right? So it is connected to my Spring Boot thing, and I have joined it, right? If you want to join, right, guys, you can also join. Just give this IP address in your browser and 8080, and you can also join, right? You can also join it here, right? I'll say so. Welcome you all. You can also join, right? I've already joined, right? And we are seeing it live. You can use this IP address and this port number. You will also be able to join my application, and we can do chat and we can join, and this is my Spring Boot WebSocket chat, right? So that is how we do. So we just thought to demonstrate. So this is what I did, right? And just one CPU, 1 GB of RAM, right? One CPU, 1 GB of RAM which we have taken, right? So that is normally which we do, right? Another thing which we do, right? So we can do, so like that we do multiple projects. So this is just to showcase you so that you can get familiar what we are going to do at MindMajix. Prerequisites, our lab setup, right? So, right, you must be thinking that what would be the lab setup. It's a very, very simple, right? We will also do it, right? And as I said, we do everything on cloud, right? Everything we do on cloud. So web, we do Docker instance. So what we do Docker installation, and we create our own instance on cloud. Normally we use AWS. It's a free tier, right? It's a free tier, so no cost involved, right? Absolutely free. Docker Swarm built-in node cluster when we create our own multi-node cluster. Here also we do on AWS cloud only. That is again a free tier, no cost involved, right? Absolutely free. So what you are doing, you are learning cloud also. We will be training you to train you on cloud, because when you get onto the job, people will expect that you should know cloud thing also, right? But at MindMajix, we are covering each and everything at a single course, right? When you register for Docker or Kubernetes, we are going to cover that thing also, right? System requirement, AWS cloud instance, 1 CPU, 1 GB of RAM, which is more than enough, and we are using free tier only. So absolutely no cost here, which is fine. OS, we are using Linux and Ubuntu, right? So both the things, CentOS and Ubuntu, we did it today. Server access, how we access? By using same user profile, right? We use user access, right? User profile, right? Root user for installation, and we access it. This is what we do it here. Additional core resources, so training, right? So all our training, right? We provide a lot of material, right? So training material. So training materials, right, training material and daily command, whatever we will be having hands-on thing, we will generate a history and put it into one file, and we upload that file for you, right? In Google Classroom, we'll upload it and you will get the access, and you can download and you can practice what we did today. So we archive each and everything on every session by session, module by module. We are archiving each and every information for you, and everything will be made available to you, right? So training materials and daily commands and module wise will be provided on daily basis, right? So we have our own repository we upload and we will do, right? And it will be directly there in your email ID, right? So in your inbox, you will get it on daily basis. Courses has been crafted from certified modules, right? So completely certified modules, we have crafted these courses for you. Assignments and projects, we do a lot of assignments at MindMajix, and you will get a complete holistic view of projects. Tomorrow when you go and work at a customer site, you should have this experience. So that experience, anyhow, we are building your profile, we are building your skill set right from the ground level, right? So you will be trained, and we will do a lot of assignments and projects will be done. And so for that also, you can do your self-assessment that where you stand, right? Where you stand, if you need support, we will also come to know that if you need an additional thing, right? So assignment basically it gives a self-assessment kind of thing. So we can assess where you stand, and based if you need something more, right, we can provide support, and we can also help you to learn the thing, right? So if you stuck somewhere, we will help you to that by all these things. And here we are going to take all real-time use cases, right? So you will be going to experience a production environment, a custom-based kind of environment, right? So and it's a hands-on session, right? So we'll have a complete thing. Each Docker module has its own demonstration documentation, right? So each module has its own documentation. We have a lot of PDFs and all that, and right, execution of commands and everything, and that everything will be provided to you, right? Everything will be provided. Mock test, right? As I told you earlier, right? So in the similar track, we are preparing you for Docker certification, right? If you are planning, well and good. If you are not planning, no harm, right? So that is also an added advantage, right? So what we are going to do, we are also helping you with a lot of mock tests, right? A lot of mock tests will be provided, and other links also. We will also give you the link so that at home you can practice and you can take this mock test, and you can know where you stand, and you can clarify your doubt. A lot of information is there, right? And it has complete timer and everything. So basically, as a real-time experience, you will get it here, right? From certification point of view, and right, and reference. So we will give you a lot of reference from certification point of view here, right? Sample resumes will be prepared. Yes. So once you learn it, so you need to update your resumes also, right? So you will upgrade all your new experience, new Docker experience into your CV, so that you can also float your CVs for a new role, new job, right? So that way we will also help you. We'll take some sample CVs, how we can do, whether you are a developer or a tester or a admin or an architect, right? So all that we will see, right? How we can upgrade, and we will provide you simple sample of resumes, right? Sample resumes, and so normally what we do, we take one session and we talk only about this thing, job market, how to look the job, right? And we will give you all assistance. Assistance would be provided with respect to Docker job description, right? So for developers, they will be confused, right? So they say that when we look for development side experience in DevOps, right, there are many things they mention. So what we do, we take some sample description, job description, and then I will explain you that how to go and apply for the job, right? So we'll have some understanding here. So we take all that thing, right? So we normally have one session at the end of the course, where we talk about how to upgrade the CVs, how to apply the jobs, and what kind of jobs are available. Nowadays, DevOps jobs are available city-wise, right? Not only particular country, right? If you look for India, Middle East, UK, US, right? Everywhere you are finding tremendous market value, right? So there's a lot of job openings are there out. That is how we take a lot of things at MindMajix, right? So we do a lot of things for you. So that's a complete package, right? Complete package. You need not to look at for anything else outside, right? So everything is available at MindMajix. So any questions, right? So we can take up any questions, any doubts, right? So not only here, but during the course also we can take it up, or beginning of the next session when you do at home. And tomorrow, right, before starting the session, right, if you come some if you have come with some doubts, we will clarify all your doubts, right? So we'll discuss all that on daily thing, right? So all that thing there, and all our trainers are highly qualified trainers, so they are subject matter expertise they are having, and they will train you for all that thing, right? So we'll give all that things, some demonstration also I've given you, so that you can feel that what value add MindMajix provides to the people who register with MindMajix, and we do all that course in a very professional way, right? Very, very professional way. So this is all about the thing. So finally, guys, if you can share your feedback, and if you have any question, we will address. You can reach out to MindMajix any point of time for any further clarification, queries, or information you need. Your feedback is always appreciated. We need valuable feedback from you, so that is the area where we can improve further. And thank you for joining in. Thanks for listening, right? So that's all from MindMajix. Thank you.